This is one of the simplest levels ever created in Super Mario Maker 2. It's 500 blocks long and contains no enemies, power-ups, and platforms. You might think that something like this would be impossible to complete, and normally I'd agree with you. But what if I told you that it was possible? And in this video, I'm not only going to prove to you that it is, but actually attempt to beat it myself. We're about to embark on a journey to accomplish what Mario Maker Pro and my friend Pangia Panga consider to be the hardest Mario Maker challenge ever created. Welcome to the Grand Canyon Challenge. Now, in order to understand where the idea for this challenge even originated from, we need to take a step back, many steps actually, to February of 2023 in the Content Ideas section of my Discord server. A member by the name of Kinflurpin, who had recently joined, dropped a curious idea for a challenge. Mario Maker, but every time I beat a level, my controller inputs get delayed by 1/4 of a second. On the surface, it seems like a fairly innocent and straightforward challenge, but in reality, this message was much more than that. A challenge of this sort would normally be impossible. There's no way to easily add delay to your controls or otherwise modify how the game plays. However, he claimed that he himself had created a device that was capable of this, as well as much more. Curious, I followed up with him in private and found out that he wasn't just some random user in my Discord server. He was responsible for creating one of the most impressive Mario Maker displays I had ever seen. A fully tool-assisted presentation of levels in the game that would be physically impossible for any human to ever accomplish, displayed on the big stage. Game's done quick.
What is this?
After a brief chat, he agreed to send me a version of this device, the SWIC, to try out for myself. Little did I know at the time how much of an impact this small device would have on the trajectory of my content over the coming months. While originally it was sent to me to accomplish the simple goal of adding artificial input delay to my controller, as I talked with Kinflurpin further, we realized together just how much it could do, all while using an unmodded, fully vanilla Switch. Over the coming months, I was able to create challenges and bring ideas to my stream that I had never thought would ever be possible, all because of one single device. As the months began to progress, the simple ideas that I had originally worked with Kinflurpin to come up with gradually became more complex. Until one day, I was preparing for what ended up becoming one of my biggest streams of all time. A 4-player game of Mario Party where each player was controlled by a different crazy concept. I'd be playing the game myself fully blindfolded. My Twitch chat would be controlling the second player, interacting with the game using one of the SWIC devices as player 2. Weighted random inputs would be controlling player 3 using a second SWIC device, and player 4 would be Mario Party's own CPU. Now, I'll spare you the details, but the technical logistics of this were a nightmare that I wasn't even fully sure I could pull off. There were so many moving parts that I was almost certain that it would fail in some way, and while I was originally setting everything up, I was convinced that it had. Seemingly by accident, when getting everything set up prior to the stream and attempting to verify that the random inputs bot and Twitch chat were on separate controllers, I had connected players 2 and 3 both to my Switch at the same time through just a single controller. After a brief chat with Kinflurpin, I realized it was just a simple issue on my end with a bit of code that I had forgotten to modify to allow each controller to function independently of one another, and the stream managed to go through without a hitch. But this accidental blunder actually hatched a new idea in my head. 2 players, 1 controller. By having 2 of these devices connected to my Switch at the same time, I actually had the power to not only modify how the game worked by doing things such as letting chat play or adding artificial delay to my controller, I could add all of those things while also mirroring my inputs across multiple players. Think of it like the double cherry power-up in Super Mario 3D World, but on any game at any time. This opened up the floodgates to an entirely new era of content. After speaking with Kinflurpin about it further, he agreed to send me 2 more SWIC devices, increasing the maximum number of players I could control at a single time from 2 all the way up to the console's maximum of 4. Taking no time, I decided to run with this newfound technology, and the following weeks, I immediately worked out some challenges I could do with it and put them on the weekly schedule. Mario Kart, but I try to win with 2 karts at once. New Super Mario Bros. U, but I'm all 4 players. And finally, Super Mario Maker 2 co-op with myself.
Oh, no!
While the other two were fun challenges and very engaging, the 4-player Mario Maker I attempted originally struggled. Since I couldn't play the game's main modes, endless and online, with more than a single player, I had to think up something new. I originally tried to play through normal levels in the game's Hot Courses tab to simulate an endless run with my own rule set, but it felt way too janky and wasn't enjoyable to watch or play. Honestly, I was about ready to throw in the towel when I decided to give it one more shot. Super expert levels. Now I know what you're thinking. Why on earth would you dare try to do something like that when super expert levels are already a pain to beat with only one person? While that may be true, there is one major difference here. Respawn mechanics. Let me explain. When playing through a level locally in Super Mario Maker 2, you only truly fail if all players lose a life at the same time. This means that if you're playing with 4 players, up to 3 of them can actually die in the level without the game failing you out. If the solo living player can stay alive, then all 3 of the players who had fallen will respawn, allowing the group to continue. Crap. Using this mechanic, players can actually chain invincibility frames by coordinating their bubble pops, so there's always one player running forward through a level, allowing you to cheese insanely technical stages, hordes of enemies, and other perilous things.
No, Toadhead tied off the bottom, dude! This is a disaster.
In a stream where I was fully ready to go offline early and mourn a failed idea, I instead ended up staying later, cheesing level after level in Super Expert, accomplishing things that I'd never be able to do solo and likely wouldn't be able to do with other people either. Until I reached Super Expert level number 10. The level's name was simple, 1-1, and appeared to be nothing more than a remake of the original Mario Bros. Game filled with thwomps, spikes, and all sorts of traps. Essentially what you'd expect from a Super Expert level. After a few minutes of trying, I had made it most of the way through when I was faced with a giant pit to my right. Now, the normal thing to do here would be to test one of the pipes nearby and use them to try to advance further in the level. But at this point, I was pretty invested into the multiplayer cheese tactics, so I decided to instead go for a simple leap over the pit with the goal of using one of my characters who was floating over in a bubble as a springboard to skip to the end. What I got was so much more than that.
Go, go, go. Oh, they're chaining. No! That would have been, okay, but that would have been insane, right?
Now, let me be clear here. The idea of chain jumping off of respawning players is nothing new, but to do them myself while controlling all 4 players, it was something that I had never thought possible and hadn't even considered until it happened. For the next 20 minutes, I tried to replicate the chaining in the level, but it was to no avail. And after realizing that I was more invested in jumping over a pit than playing the level itself, I eventually quit out of it entirely and went into the level editor to get to the bottom of this. After slowly beginning to figure out the timing and getting just a bit better with each attempt, finally, this happened.
Boom! Let's go!
And with that, the story comes to a close. With the Grand Canyon Challenge complete, the hardest...
The Grand Canyon is one of nature's most awesome spectacles of grandeur. The multi-hued cliffs, the slopes of this tremendous chasm, every color on the art.
Shortly after that clip was recorded, my lease expired at my apartment, allowing me to move to a much nicer and comfortable space. Wanting to show it off and break in the new place in the form of a collab, I reached out to my friend Panga, and we arranged for him to come out for a few days in late August. But before we had a chance to meet up together at my new place, we both had obligations at SGDQ 2023, Games Done Quick's annual summer charity speedrunning marathon, where he'd be participating in the Mario Maker relay race as a runner, and where I'd be doing commentary for the race.
Spin again. Looks like that little stall section here.
Oh, iframes, can he make it? No!
Oh my god!
Oh, he gets another one!
Oh my
and
god!
he makes it!
Oh
Is it the
my
end?
god!
There's the axe.
Oh,
there it is! Panga clutching.
While there, I actually roomed with Panga myself, and it was during that trip that I first brought to his attention the potential that the SWIC could bring to our future content together. He wasn't originally sold on the idea himself, as he tends to generally stick to more vanilla content within Mario Maker, but as someone who has a pretty storied history in the task and level-making Mario scene, he did seem to show some interest, and agreed to at least try it out once and see how he felt about it. As the end of August arrived, and my setup was now fully unpacked at the new place, it was finally time for Panga to get his hands on the Swick himself and see just how powerful it actually was. After getting it set up and letting him play around with it himself, he was sold on the idea. So now all we needed to do was brainstorm how we could incorporate it into our content together. While brainstorming, Panga continued to play around with the Swick and actually asked me if he could attempt the same challenge I had done just a few weeks prior. Still having the level saved, I loaded it up and let him attempt it himself, but as I was watching him play, we came up with a new idea. 4 players, 2 controllers. Wanting to see if the idea worked, I plugged in a second controller, configured 2 of each device to each controller, and gave it a shot. It worked perfectly. Immediately, we both knew what to do. The same exact challenge that I had done just a few weeks ago, but this time with 2 people and a max length stage. It had taken me over an hour to beat this challenge myself a few weeks ago with the stage a fourth of the length. How could we ever possibly accomplish one that was as long as Mario Maker would allow, all while having to work together in the process? Regardless, we both seemed captivated by the idea, so rather than waiting till the following day to stream it live on one of our channels, I booted up OBS and started recording as we began to figure everything out. You know, just in case.
Dang, okay. Oh man. We spent 2 hours on this.
After 2 hours of repeated failure, we came up empty-handed. We had begun to figure out some strategies and techniques to make everything a bit more doable.
So let me explain really quick how the bubble mechanics work, just so people know. We figured out whenever you hit the A or B button, you will actually, and you're in the bubble, you get one little jolt of speed, but it goes always towards the person that you're closest to that's still alive. And the reason that that's important in this is that we've learned that if you are trying to reposition the bubble to be in a good spot for you to continue to chain jumps, you want to move the bubble shortly after a person gets popped. That way the bubble gets drawn downwards instead of up, and if you do that, you can actually chain.
Even with those implemented, the furthest we got in over 120 minutes of continuous attempts was around 70% of the way there. Panga agreed to return to the challenge a day later, but after talking with him on it, he wasn't really sold on the idea. He was convinced that even though we had made it far, the RNG elements of the bubble spawns proved to just be too inconsistent to ever get it done. And to him, it felt like the few good runs that we did have were all due to good luck. The following day, we returned to my stream with 2 possible outcomes. Either finish the challenge within an hour or 2, or call it quits and do something else that's actually possible. But even though Panga didn't expect things to work out, I had already done this once, and I knew we could do it again, so I remained optimistic. I'm not sure what it was, but there was a part of me that knew we could do it if we could just get one good run. After a quick warm-up of talking to chat and explaining to them how the challenge worked and our strategies for it, it was time to begin again. Things started off rocky, but within 15 minutes of starting, we managed to get a run that surpassed our run from the previous night. A few minutes later, it happened again, and then a third time. But the clock was quickly ticking down, so we kept going. I knew that we only had a set amount of time to accomplish this challenge today, so would we be able to pull it off, or will this challenge get abandoned entirely? Just as the clock was nearing our potential cutoff mark of 1 hour, this happened.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Oh, wait, the recovery's insane.
Sure. That's a pass in the soul.
Yeah.
That's a pass.
Yeah, okay. Coming in. Oh, wait, maybe. I got you on the jump here. Nice.
That's a pass.
Pass to you. So fast.
I think I'm good.
Nice. Okay.
Might be...
You're good. Self pass. One more.
Let's go!
Oh, let's go!
We did it!
That's big, dude. Oh my god, that's huge.
We had done it. We had taken down the Grand Canyon Challenge. A challenge that was never supposed to exist, wasn't even physically possible till earlier this year, and something that was almost left behind entirely. Anyways, that's all for now. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.
Great editing, but personally I wouldn't mind if there were no more explosions.